Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans. They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Back for another episode of Keeping Current with Kansas City. This is Thad Bell from the Kansas City Soccer Journal, and with me I have Daniel Sperry from the Kansas City Star. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic. It's a nice Monday.
Nice Monday. A 2-win weekend for the two senior teams.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you care about the Chiefs, that's 3. And if you care about the 49ers, there's 4. So
this did have Kansas City in the name.
Mm-hmm.
Not 49ers.
I had 1 extra, and Manchester United won, so I had like 2 extra wins for all of you Kansas City folk, suckers.
Nobody cares. How many championships have those two teams won lately? None. Okay, thank you. Moving on. All right, Sporting had a nice win. Kansas City Current had a explosive win. 6-3 win. Scored 7 goals.
Yeah.
What was your take from up in the press box, man?
I think at times I was wondering, where was this for large portions of the season? And then the answer to that question is, I don't know if they had the personnel to do that for large portions of the season. I think it's interesting. I've never felt like the Current have played with a single pivot at all this year, except for maybe like one game. And at the times that they have done it, player like Morgan Gautreau coming back from injury, or even at one point, Vanessa DiBernardo was the most defensive-minded midfielder that they had on the field with all the injuries that they had, and that also didn't work. You also didn't have the back line behind them. The Red Stars scored 2 goals. There was a own goal snafu that 9 times out of 10 never happens. That gets them their 3rd. So in reality, we're looking at, they created 2 goals against a team that was just bombing forward against them. It was a complete performance, I think, as a whole. I just can't. I understand why the scoreline is 3 goals. In my head, I'm not calling it 3 goals for Chicago, just because they didn't do anything to, like, they weren't even pressuring Paul Sager. That's a frustrating mistake that happens, but when you score 6 goals, you can overlook that. And the way that they created those goals, I think Lowe said it really good in the post game. if they high pressed them, they just played over the top of them. If they dropped off, then they just played through the middle of them. And they were able to do that with the way that they were set up. They played tactically a little bit like Sporting, but I think with a little bit higher pressing setup than Sporting would. But the formational side, the overlap kind of fluid triangles in the wide spaces between the 8, the winger, and the fullback led to some really, really beautiful soccer all around. Alex Loera was pinging passes all around the field from the defensive midfielder spot. So one of her best games in terms of accurate passing and ball distribution as a defensive midfielder, and really good to see her play that role as a lone 6, the single pivot in that midfield for at least 60 plus minutes of that game. So very impressive work from the team. I liked the way that they were set up. Again, they may not have had the personnel in the right spots and right times to do it this year to be set up like that, but man, that was something that they played good soccer, good attractive attacking soccer. They beat Chicago in a variety of ways, but they did so for the majority looking extremely competent throughout it.
Who was your player of the match?
To me, it was Alexis Spanstra. Just the way that she was comfortable on the ball, and the willingness to just take on defenders and put them on their heels. I actually think Lola Bonta had a really, really good game as well, from like a tempo controlling perspective in the midfield, where a lot of times Lo is really aggressive and wants to go, and sometimes it's not the right time. But I think throughout that whole game, she really picked the perfect moments of when to go and when not to. But like the second goal, the combination between her and Lo and Spanstra, with the back heel into the path of Lo, is a beautiful goal. Alexa played fantastic all night long. So for me, I think Spanstra is the player that like stood out the most for me the whole game, because she was if that's the type of performance that we get from Alexa more often, she's going to be a very, 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 very good winger in this league, in the likes of some others. So really cool to see that development out of her over the course of the season. I thought she did well in the friendly, in the limited amount of time that we got her in there, and then you do it against in my opinion, a better opponent than Monterrey was, and she looked even better in that setup. So good to see a rookie get confidence. But yeah, for me, she was definitely player of the game. There's a lot of other performances that you kind of got to circle and highlight as well.
Yeah, and I'm not going to argue with Spanstra being the player of the game. I actually had asked Coach Caroline Herblum about which rookies had come the farthest in this season, and Spanstra was the first one she named, about just how far she come and how she was ready to play and just how much she had talked about her. And then she goes out and does that performance. It was pretty spectacular. I want to interject one thing real quick. Just I think back to the very first game of the year, and like you watched it, you knew Michelle Cooper was going to be really good and was going to be effective in the minutes that she played this year. Alexis Spanstra also started that game, and she did not look that way. Right. She looked out of her depth. It was rough. The first couple of appearances she looked like she was just a little out of her depth at that time. So to go to where we're talking about her now, to have that kind of growth is quite incredible. Yeah, and it is that growth. Cooper has had quite a bit of growth. I mean, she went from being one that you could recognize was in the right place, but not quite there yet, to she's been really good on the wing, but she progressed, but maybe not the distance that Spanstra did. But still, like looking at the player of the game thing, I would actually go back to Loera.
Yeah.
Just because how well she was picking that ball around. She had 2 assists, I believe. Spanstra had the goal and the assist. I think Dabinia had a goal and assist. I mean, there was a lot of players that had multiple points in that game. Izzy Rodriguez, a goal and assist. That's another one.
Yep.
Spectacular goal from her. So there's a lot of players that could be actually, it shouldn't be player of the match. It should be players of the match, maybe.
Yeah. I think too, on the Cooper thing, I want to go back this is a shameless plug, but on the article that I wrote about her and Gabrielle Robinson a few weeks back, was talking about it. She didn't play wing in college. And so I know, sure, a couple of years maybe for her, she of not playing on the wing. Okay, but you go from, okay, maybe I played wing for a high school club level to the next time I'm being asked to be a winger, it's in the NWSL. Regardless of how long it's been, that's a significant jump in quality and in even like the level of what is being asked of a winger at a professional level versus a youth club level or even a youth national team level. So I think that was one thing that we talked about, of just like relearning a position but doing it at the pro level and as like a 19-year-old was kind of crazy. And I think really a testament to how smart she is and how well she will continue to adapt and grow throughout the league. The last couple of games, I think we've seen her, before I wrote that article, she was still second on the team in shot creating actions per 90 minutes. The only person who was creating more than her was Dabinia. And so the ability for her to create those chances, but I talked about the fact that the end product wasn't there. She didn't really have very many assists. She only had one goal from open play. So the next level is growing and it's getting that end product. And you saw a little bit of that the other night. I know she was offside, but she finished the chance that she got where she could go 1v1. And that one she definitely was offside for. And then she gets the assist there too on I think on Kaiser's goal. She created a lot down that right hand wing in that match. So a testament to her growth along with Alexa's. I think it just looks different because of just I don't mean this like to be like take a shot at Alexa, but like she looked really out of her depth in those first couple of games where with Cooper you really thought, okay, there's definitely pieces there. She can play now, where Alexa you felt like it was going to take time, and it took time, but I think they both are going to be very dangerous pieces for this team moving forward, hopefully, and I'm sure fans will hope for years to come.
Yeah, and whenever you look at a player and go, well, it's going to take time for them to get there, you never really know that they're going to get there.
Yeah.
Right. You can see like good pieces from a player and say, but they're not ready to play at this level. Hopefully, the next year they'll figure it out. But there's lots of players who never do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of players that come in as great players from college, and then they hang around for a couple of years and they fade away. So a lot of credit to Spanstra for continuing to step up her game and just getting better and better. And again, it's not an insult to her where she was. That's just a fact of life coming out of college to the pro game. It's also a fact of life why Michelle Cooper was picked so highly in the first round of what she was being ready to contribute, at least at some level. I think she still has room to grow and will continue to also.
Yeah.
Actually, pretty good. Like if you look at the three rookies who played the most, those two and Gabrielle Robinson, they have all had little bit different journeys and different, things thrust upon them, but they've all actually rose to the occasion fairly well.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe a little bit with Ryland Childers too. We saw a ton of her in the friendly. She was one of the only few players who went 90 minutes, but she looked really good. Looked to be making quicker decisions with the ball, which I thought was my biggest knock on her during earlier in the season when she was getting minutes here and there, or started a Challenge Cup game in Louisville, I think. It was just one of those things that I saw and I was like, okay, there's stuff there, but you've got to get rid of the ball quicker at the pro level. And she definitely did in that Monterey game, and it was really good distribution. Of course, the only rookie we didn't really see anything from at all this year is Silkowitz, who has been on the DL 45, which for some of those of you who don't know what that is or didn't know that existed, because I had someone ask me about that the other day. The D45 is like a non-season, like there's regardless, either list, there's a minimum amount of games that you can be on that. And players do, I think so. Players do not require on there, I have to remember if they require a roster spot or not. On the season-ending injury list, they don't require a international spot, and they don't require a roster spot if they're on the season-ending injury list. But the D45 is a way to not put them on season-ending because there's a minimum amount of days that they have to be on there. So if it's like one of those where like they might be out for 6 weeks, that's a great place to put a player. Silkowitz has been on that with a hand injury for a while, and we haven't gotten what we've seen in training. She's not too bad, but it never got any game minutes out of her from a hand injury. But she will be going on loan to Australia this summer, so we'll see a little bit of her there. Maybe
I'm sure we will. I don't think her injury is so bad that she couldn't have come off the list if they needed to have a backup keeper.
No, and she is. I mean, she's in as full of training as I've like. Doesn't seem to be very many limits to what her training is at the moment either.
And there was earlier in the year, there was a month or so ago that maybe month and a half that she was not doing regular full rotation practice, but she has been for a while now. Yeah, so that's again the problem with the keeper, especially when you got two keepers ahead of you like AD and Cassie. So
yeah. Anyway, sorry to derail the original thought, but yes, they made good on the draft picks for the most part.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to actually something you said earlier about that own goal doesn't happen 95% of the time. That own goal doesn't happen 99.999% of the time.
Yeah,
it's
a fluke moment, man.
I think the last time I seen it live in a game was a U15 girls game.
Yeah. I think I remember winning a game because of that in like high school soccer, because they passed it back to the keeper and he whiffed on the kick out. And that one wasn't just, oh, I messed up my touch. This was like, let me try and boot it, and whiffed.
Yeah.
Ball was going faster on the turf than he thought, but anyways.
I think I've seen that get me a win in an indoor game but it was the ball coming around the boards, and the goalie goes down to get it and just goes off his hand and into the goal instead of being caught.
It's one of those where, like, I don't know, maybe at times everything for pro athletes is so second nature that when you like for just a second, if you're thinking about something else before executing, you get a moment like that. And I think AD immediately, put her hand up and said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And players went over and kind of dapped her up and said, it's all right, we got your back. And, that she didn't need to make very many saves after that anyways, but Chicago really didn't do anything to threaten in the second half outside of the one goal that they scored. And I think just that was a kind of a crazy, a good play, a very good play by them to create that chance, and a very good ball to the back post, and just kind of had everybody scrambling, and they finished it, and you tip your cap and move on. But yeah, ultimately I thought everybody played pretty well for the Current on Saturday.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Yeah, both of the Chicago goals seem to be kind of like mad scramble, chaos in the box goals,
Mhm.
where pretty much all the current goals, if not all of them, were actually nicely taken shots.
Yeah,
Build up
well,
plays.
well taken finishes. Some of them are a little Route One over the top. I
Yeah.
think outside of CC's goal, all three goals that were scored in the second, or four goals that were scored in the second half. What was it? 3, 4? There's three. There's 3 and 3. So outside of CC's goal, I think there was what, two that were very Route One over the top goals, and even in a way, the goal. The ball that was played. So I'm thinking back to the goal that Lowe scored. So Route One ball over the top to Kristen Hamilton, but Hamilton played it nicely to Spanstra, who made the run, and Lowe made the run there for the cutback from Spanstra to finish and dribbled in. But yes, all of them very well taken shots. Like Debinia's finish on Nair is evil because she eyes that far post curler the whole way, and then just a little dink between the defender's legs and had Alyssa Nair like completely caught off guard. Brilliant finish.
See, this is one of those where I've often been a critic of what I would call long ball, the old English style, but to me, there's a very fine line between long ball and through balls. So,
Yeah,
and so through balls, cutting up the defense. Long balls is just hoping somebody can outrun your defender, the
yeah.
other, So, to me, I still give a lot of credit to the skill level of through balls versus the pure athleticism of long balls. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That might just be in my own mind, the way I see things. All right. Good win. Doesn't help them out. They were already out of the playoffs. Might help them move up a couple spots in the standings if they can get a win this weekend at Gotham.
Maybe avoid the wooden spoon. I don't know, depending on what happens with Chicago as well. So, but yeah, it's crazy. These score lines against Chicago. The first game in Chicago, 4-2. The second game in the Challenge Cup in KC, 4-0. I'll come back to the third game, but then the last one was 6-3. That third game is a 0-0 draw. How on earth did either of these teams, with the score lines that we've seen in 3 of those 4 games, come together and have a 0-0 draw in the Challenge Cup? It blew me away.
Strategically tactical defense? No, bullshit.
Yeah,
don't know.
The penalty. Lowe had a penalty saved in that game. That's all. But still,
trying to think back to that game. Was there something special about it? Like tiredness?
Boring. It was a boring 0-0 draw.
That's probably why I don't remember much about
it. You may have had something else to worry about.
Yeah. Might have been watching something else, is what you're trying to say?
I don't know. No, I'm not saying you would have been watching something else. Maybe you were out of town or something. I don't know.
Could be. All right, so up against Gotham this weekend.
Good old Gotham.
Potential last game for some people, perhaps coaching staff.
Yeah.
Players that are not in contract or will be out of contract after the season. Potential last game for them.
Yeah. I think that when you come to the last game of the season and you know that this will be the last game of the year, that's always in your mind of like, all right, is this going to be the last game that this person sees? I think you look at the players who are all free agents. I think it that are at least within the free agency setup. I think most of those situations seem pretty clear what would and wouldn't happen. But and I don't think any of those players actually have maybe one as a realistic shot at playing this weekend. So I don't know. It's one of those where, at the end of the season, it's part of the league. It's part of the business of the game. At some point, players move on, and that's just kind of how it is. And coaches as well. And, as long as Caroline has been in charge of the team, she's still been with the interim tag as their head coach for a while. And, if they were, I'm at a point where I feel like if she was the one that they were going to hire, they wouldn't have waited to do it. So I don't know. I just have a hunch that this is probably her last game in charge, and at that point, I don't think you can bring back someone who coached the team for that long, and it's an unfortunate situation. But I think Caro's done a decent job at times, and so probably I think we can all read the tea leaves and figure this is probably her last game in charge. It's the interim. So
I know we'll have a pod after the season to kind of maybe break down where everything went right or went wrong. So I can't say everything went right because there's not that much that did.
yeah.
I think she was put in a very bad situation. Of course, I think Potter was put in a terrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
So just the way the roster was compiled and who was available and who wasn't, and the inner turmoil that must have been taking place that I can't quote anybody about, but it's I wish her a lot of goodwill to wherever she ends up going, assuming that she's not here next year.
Yeah. Same with that. I think she has, like we've talked about too before on this pod, just kind of like what we've seen is maybe some of her strengths and weaknesses, and we've seen that she has really good tactical ideas. But I think she's at times is someone who's very used to worrying about youth development, given her past head coaching roles. She has at times, talked about the process of getting the process and the playing versus the results. And I think at times maybe they were a little too focused on that, but I think that's the learning curve of someone who's put in a position that she's in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what all this team looks like the next time when they open that new stadium. There's going to be some changes, so it's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like next year when that comes. And but yeah, I think this is one of those moments where change is on the horizon, and it's just kind of getting through this game and figuring out what that change is going to be.
Yeah, that's I wonder how long before they actually make those announcements. And I'm assuming the next coach will have to come in and start making the changes as soon as possible to help build the roster towards what he wants. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot in the next month or so.
What he or she wants, that. What he or she wants. Nothing's official yet.
Nope, nothing is official yet. So anything else we should discuss today, Mr. Sperry?
Look at that quick change of subject there. No, I think we've covered it all. I think just some final thoughts. It was good to see them close out their home stretch with a game like the one that we got on Saturday. 15,000 plus people in 6-3 win. That's a good home finish to the season in front of the fans, and I think will for the most part help hype the new stadium for those that are going to be there. That attendance record that we got and will probably stand for a little while because until they expand that stadium or play another game somewhere else where they have more fans. If and when Arrowhead is fit to host a soccer game, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and put a game in there. So yeah, it'll be interesting for the next weeks, and it'll be an interesting game this weekend against Gotham. See how coach even wants to put players out there, and with it being the last game of the season, and ultimately with the eye turned towards 2024.
Yeah, and Gotham will be needing to win this because they'll be hoping to move up a spot in the standings. Kansas City can play spoiler a little bit in that. But just going back to that last game of the year aspect, a record-setting crowd again, but it was just so good to have the fans rewarded for showing up.
Yeah,
they didn't have to with everything that's been going on, with the team not playing well, but they showed up. They set a new record. Fans were rewarded for it. The players were rewarded for their hard work by having a good ending to the season, even if next game is a loss. So they have a nice ending to the season, even if they don't do anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: do Gotham are fighting for their playoff lives still, and this is a team, the current team. They put a good beat down on Gotham when they came here. So one of their few, I wouldn't say few. They've got 8 wins, which is as many wins as Gotham have. They just have a lot more losses that were not draws. I mean, this is a team that is the current could very well play spoiler for Sunday if results go the right way. Because they haven't clinched playoffs yet, and there are looks like
all the way down to 8th place could pass them.
Like literally 8 teams that could potentially, that are the only 2 teams, the bottom 2 teams and the top 2 teams, the only 2 teams who have their fate sealed of postseason play. So everyone else is potentially on the chopping block based on what happens below them. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
I don't know if Houston is actually mathematically eliminated, but you might as well say they are.
Well, let's see. I mean, if Reign were to lose and Dash won, they could leapfrog them, depending on what else happens.
They could. But yeah, anyway, I think it's pretty doubtful at this point.
Okay.
But hey, it'd be fun if it happens.
It'll be quite interesting. Decision day in NWSL is going to be chaotic. That's all I can say. It'll be absolutely chaotic.
Yeah, I'm one that hates live standings, but that's going to be very interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Anything else today?
Nope. I think we're good.
And the other thing I was going to mention was the Sportico rankings on teams value. KC Current came in 3rd.
Yep. Saw that.
That's not too bad a performance for being a 3rd-year team that doesn't have a stadium.
Correct. But they will have their own stadium here shortly, and I think the valuation of facilities, I think, plays a pretty big role in that. At the moment, obviously Angel City up there up top because of their ownership and the amount of reach that they have within LA. And even globally, they got their featured series on whatever television network that was for a while. That was gloating and glowing about them, despite not making the playoffs in the last 2 years. So we'll see.
San Diego's second.
Second,
and they don't have their own stadium either.
They technically do not.
In fact, they're going to become the 3rd tenant in their own stadium.
Well, yep, much to their chagrin. I think their coach made a pretty big deal about the fact that they were not given scheduling priority for the stadium as opposed to the new San Diego FC. They're a little disappointed by that.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand why they would be disappointed, is what I mean.
Yep.
Although I could see an MLS team drawing more than them, but they have to prove that first. So,
yep.
I don't know if I was managing that stadium, I'd be saying, okay, you get 1 pick, you get 1 pick, and just start going that way.
Correct.
All right. Well, I will see you at training sometime soon.
Yep, sometime this week.
And probably at the very interesting to come postseason pressers.
Very interesting to come. It'll be the first time. I think it'll be the first time. I mean, I assume Camille Ashton will be made available. It'll be the first time that we have talked to her since she fired Matt Potter,
which was 3 days too late. When the availability was.
Yes, the availability was 3 days too late.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see if she is there to introduce the new coach. All right. Appreciate everybody listening. Rate, review, subscribe, whatever all those things I'm supposed to say is. And let us know if you have any questions that you want us to dig into. And we are out.